Hello.
Hello, hello.
Jake.
Hello.
Well, we're with a friend this time as well, second guest of the podcast, Jake Mills.
Why, you just doxed him with, his surname as well.
That's fine. That's just
I'm
fine.
kidding.
When he's a famous director, everyone's going to know him anyway.
When?
Well, he's a director.
Yeah.
Well, it's not world famous at the moment. Famous in Carlton, in the community. But we are here in Carlton Gardens next to the IMAX. Kind of a good place to talk about films.
Yeah, well, I think we should talk about why we're at Carlton Gardens as well. So it's leading up to a film that we're going to watch as well. It's the latest Ridley Scott film, Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix. So yeah,
Excited.
Hopefully good 3 hours of the day going towards that. And,
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys expecting from the film? I know you weren't a fan of Napoleon. Like, you weren't excited to see it.
The trailers didn't. The snippets that I saw of the trailers didn't excite me. But the more I think about it, the last Ridley Scott new film of his that I saw was The Last Duel. I think last year, might have been the year before, and that was a historical kind of epic as well. And I really enjoyed that film. So perhaps this could be good.
Cool.
But I don't know. I've never seen Gladiator, which is one of his most sort of famous
Oh, did you do
historical
Gladiator?
epics. Still never seen Gladiator.
Is it Hans Zimmer who did the music?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer did the music. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I'm more excited because I love Barry Lyndon, and this just gave me a Barry Lyndon vibe.
Right.
And IMAX. Second time at the IMAX, so I'm keen for that experience. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, not a lot of expectations. Yeah, I haven't watched a Ridley Scott film in ages, really. I haven't watched The Last Duel or anything recent. Did you do the latest Alien one, or was that someone else?
He did do the latest Alien,
Yeah.
but that was I think nearly 7 years ago now.
Okay.
Alien Covenant. Yeah, he did do that.
Yeah. Not a lot of expectations, but it is Joaquin Phoenix, who is one of my favorite actors. So I
Nice.
think that'll be nice as well.
The Joker.
And, and he was in Gladiator, by the way.
Oh, was
And,
he?
Yeah, he was, and
That's true.
that was a very good performance as well.
I think the first time I saw him was in Her. Is it Her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But we're here to talk about films. It's pretty obvious that both of you know a lot about. You have a lot of film knowledge. Which
Films.
which I don't
Film.
have. They're called nerds, by the way.
They call
Yeah.
nerds. Oh yeah, I like.
There's
how
a word.
I
There's a
like
word
how
for
you
it.
you keep saying the two of you as if you don't have a group chat full of everyone asking people to come watch movies in your place. You put in the effort to schedule movies and go rent movies to watch, and you're you guys are just film nerds. And you've got posters in your room of different frames as well. They're not actual posters. You've just literally gone to Officeworks and printed them out.
Yeah, no, they're not posters. They're just stills. And
Anyway, well, you asked for that.
Well, no, fair. I am probably the most pretentious film nerd because every film I watch is not like Hollywood, except Napoleon, I guess, and Oppenheimer. I watched.
I think we should talk about a bit of why we got Jake in as well.
Yeah,
in terms of film.
Yeah, I mean, Jake is someone I got close to this year. It's been pretty rewarding. Connected over film. I think both of you connected over film as well when you first met.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're pretty heavy into film. I feel like you watch every new film that comes out, which is something that I don't make time for. But you studied film, right?
Yeah. I just finished my uni degree this year, but spent about 5 years studying film and television, mix of practical and theory.
Oh yeah. Theory can only get you so far.
But I don't know. I think watching films is the best way to learn about filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then what do you want to be a director, I assume.
Yeah,
Like, is that-
screenwriting, director. That's kind of like always been my dream sort of career path, I guess. I feel like it's the most like there's a little bit of a control freak side to it, where you have like the most control over the creative side of the finished product, I guess. But I
Yeah.
also just like having that strong kind of creative input into the development and creation of a project, particularly in terms of story. That's why I think screenwriting is something I'm very interested in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and stuff like certain projects they're already working on, right, in that aspect of things as well, right? So it's how's that been in terms of just getting started with some of those things, and like, is it
Well-
what you've expected, or?
Well, I think I've honestly been going through a bit of a drought with like writing scripts and like struggling with writer's block, or like getting a script off the ground. So I've worked on a lot of like other friends' sort of projects, and I think being on set is always like my favorite place to be. You know, I'll work 10-hour shifts on a set, and it's like I'll enjoy the whole process of just working collaboratively on a film set to make something like any sort of small short film. But I think there's always a part of me that wants to have more sort of creative input into a project, and I feel like if I'm writing or directing, and actually like it's my kind of baby, so to speak, it's my project, I think I feel more creatively satisfied and fulfilled with the final product, the finished product, than just working on the set. It feels more just like a little gig or a little helping out on the side.
Yeah, okay. Well, have you done like some short films back in the day?
Back in I think the last time I did a few short sort of film courses in my teen years, and then a friend of mine who's been studying in the US for quite a while, we co-wrote and co-directed this sort of micro-budget short film called Shitmen in 2018.
Yeah.
That was like the last project I properly like wrote and directed and actually got off the ground, and it was a really fun process, because that was before we went to study film at uni, so we kind of just made shit up on the fly, and we had no money, so we kind of like we used like Apple earphones to record sound as like the boom. We just used like iPhones or my camera just to, and we made it sort of in the style of like a mockumentary, sort of hide the low production value and make it kind of just look like we just filmed two people. But mainly just been working as like editor, or like just helping out on set as like with lighting as a gaffer or things like that these days. But trying to get back into writing to hopefully start making my own projects again.
Yeah,
in the
cool.
future.
Yeah.
Cool. And then writer's block just seems like such a blocker for like everyone. Hey, like like all creative like pursuits, not like writing per se, like could be like art, like painting or whatever it is, just inspiration to write.
Yeah.
Do you draw from like your life experiences, or do you tend to go like kind of fictitious, almost like make it up?
I try to start from like just making it up on the spot, making it all fictional. The script I'm trying to write at the moment, I feel like was sort of like a therapeutic kind of cathartic little exercise, where I was drawing heavily from my own life. But I think I mainly draw heavily from other films I've seen, which can inspire me, but then it's also like a double-edged sword, where it's like I'm trying not to copy or rip off other things I've seen as well. And always trying to keep, I think originality is always like of the utmost importance to me, so always trying to make sure I'm making something that...
Well, I was having this conversation with our mutual friend Max, who's an artist as well. He was just saying how good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Right.
Which is interesting. And we see that with a lot of directors, like influences and kind of throwbacks to older films that they've been influenced by.
Absolutely,
But it's interesting. I'm gonna just get the elephant in the room out of the way, which is our favorite films. I'm sure all our fans are dying to know.
What is this, like letterbox top 4?
Basically. But quick fire first 5 films that come to mind, that is your favorite. It's not influencing your creative pursuits, but just like favorite films. 5, just whatever comes to mind.
Right.
Jake, you can go first.
Oh, we start with me.
Yeah.
I used to be like really kind of anti-letterboxed, and recently I kind of tried to dip my toes back into it. So I did actually update and put on my top 4. So I do have like the first 4 straight off the top of my head. So I've got The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. I get a lot of flack for that because it's like a superhero blockbuster, but I love that shit. And that was kind of like the film where I kind of got into film on a deeper level. When I saw that film, it was like more than entertainment. It was like, I want to get into this business. I want to work in the film industry. Yeah. So I feel like that was like the film that maybe changed my life, so to speak. My second favorite would probably be Donnie Darko. I think it's just one of those weird indie films that is just so wholly unique, and you just never see another film like it.
It's almost got like a cult following now, really.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those films that, was like became a cult classic.
Didn't you dress up as the rabbit for it?
Yeah, I dressed up as
Halloween?
Frank the Bunny Rabbit from Donnie Darko for Halloween this year.
That's great.
Yeah, it was.
You should get a tattoo.
I'm planning to get
I'm
planning to get a tattoo. The 28 days. The whole number thing on the arm.
Yeah.
My third favorite film would probably be Blade Runner 2049. Another kind of film where I always liked the first Blade Runner, but I didn't. Also directed by Ridley Scott, actually. But I never loved it. And then when I saw the sequel, it really kind of it just hit the sweet spot for me. It was like that ultimate sci-fi drama kind of epic, and that was like one of those few films where I left the cinema like speechless because of how good it was. I feel like the best films, you sort of don't know what to say because they were just so perfect. They're so good.
When I watched 2049, similar experience, but I think when I watched it alone, and it was next to this like old man. I think he was probably in his 60s, so he probably saw the first one when he was, in his 30s, or even before then. And he was going through it. He was having such a good time. So you could tell that that movie probably holds a lot of a big place in a lot of people's hearts as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I personally liked it a lot as well. Yeah.
So what's number 4?
4 would probably be Memento. I think that was sort of indie Christopher Nolan at his best before he kind of hit the big time with the blockbusters, and kind of he hasn't really.
I mean, you got a tattoo.
And I've got a tattoo from the film. Remember Sammy Jenkins on my hand. That film. I think that film was the film that showed me that you can make an amazing film with a smaller budget. That was my go-to sort of indie film kind of inspiration, where if you had a good crew, a good craft, and a good script, you could sort of make anything, and you didn't need a strong production budget behind you.
It's the power of good editing, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
sure,
as well.
for sure. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then I've never really thought of my 5th favorite, but I guess I'll just throw an animated in there.
I was just gonna say,
I don't have any animated on there. Toy Story 2 is probably my favorite animated film. I think early Pixar was really doing something special with creativity and interesting storytelling, and making family films that were really kind of thought provoking and really properly kind of entertaining for all ages. I think most adults can enjoy some of those good golden age Pixar films. And I think Toy Story 2 is probably my favorite of.
That's cool. I mean, I saw a thread in there of your list. 3 of them are sci-fi, pure sci-fi, and 2 of them are from Christopher Nolan. I already know, but your favorite director is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
And you want to make films in sci-fi? Is that what you want to make films in? Or?
I don't think I have a genre I'm tied to. I think I just love film so much. I don't really care too much about genre, but sci-fi is definitely one of my favorite genres to watch as an audience member, and I think that would be exciting to make someday. But I think sci-fi in particular is quite a well-established genre. I think it's hard to make something in that sort of genre that is wholly kind of original or fresh. I think if I was to ever try to delve into the world of sci-fi, it would be try to make something original. Maybe something to do with time travel, although that's been really overdone as well, I guess, maybe. But I think time travel is like probably the kind of sci-fi sort of concept that I find the most sort of interesting and cathartic, because I think we all have this like desire to be able to go back in time or like go back and change things about our lives, and so I think that's like a concept I find very engaging.
It's also interesting because like 4 of the 5 films you mentioned are all sequels, right? So yeah, I mean, I probably didn't notice that, but I guess it's almost like sticking to a craft and like building upon another story with another, you know, even better. And you would argue that at least all of them are, maybe with the exception of 2049, I don't know, that's an argument you would want to have, but are probably the better ones from compared to the previous movie. So it's almost like you're kind of like following someone's story, and then like they put out something even better after that. It's just an interesting experience, right? I think a lot of people give a lot of shit for like, you know, it's all sequels and remakes coming out recently, but I think when it's the same person creating a sequel and that's something meaningful coming out, I think that's pretty cool, really. I mean, like a lot of the films we enjoy really are like that. So it's pretty cool. I think a lot of reboots and remakes are unnecessary if the original work stands on its own, and but I can also see like why sometimes remakes are made just to sort of update something for modern times. But I think sequels, often, I mean, with most films, there's always financial sort of incentives. But I think a sequel, I'm always open to sequels, because if you have a good enough story and you want to expand it or return to characters, I think why not? I mean, we love TV shows as well, and I feel like that's sort of just one big series of sequels. I've always loved a good sequel, and I think they always have the potential to be better than the originals if done well.
Cool. Okay, Dylan, your list, quick.
Oh yeah, I'll be really quick.
Yours 5. No, you're the guest. Dylan, I've heard him talk about film all my life.
All the time. I'll be really quick. So
whatever comes to mind.
So obviously Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson. The Dark Knight, again, one of my favorites as well. I would add Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as an animated. In the Mood for Love, and how's that? How's that 4?
Yeah, that's 4.
That's 4, and then one more. Oh, great. This is gonna be hard. Let's just say.
Maybe I can guess it.
Maybe, yeah.
Can I guess it?
Yeah, go for it.
Never Let Me Go.
No, that's too much for me.
You're projecting now.
I was about to say.
We watched it together recently. Like rewatched it together.
We watched together.
What's the In Time or whatever?
In Time is good. Yeah, In Time is such a good film.
You like that?
In Bruges is what it is.
Okay, cool. Fair. Yeah, you're a fan of that. Yeah.
So that's 5.
Cool.
Always changing, I think. Some of them have been there for a while.
But Wes Anderson's your favorite director?
Yeah, I would say at least he's directed my favorite film. So Grand Budapest Hotel is probably my favorite film. But you know, you never know. It'll change. You know, that's just the state of mind right now.
Fair.
What were you? Give us a 5. Probably some Abbas in there.
Yeah, Abbas favorite director. So Abbas Kiarostami. Life and Nothing More, which is the second of his trilogy. That's number 1. Patapan Charlie, Indian film. Satyajit Ray. That's 2. Bicycle Thieves, Victoria Dusika. 3. Come and See. It's probably number 1 to be honest, but Come and See. Russian. 5th, I don't know, it could be La Haine, French film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are mine.
La Haine,
yeah. Hard to pick 5, but first 3 are pretty solid, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. That's out of the way.
Yeah, that's out of the way. So yeah, it's interesting how we talked about like different films and like stuff we've seen over the years as well. Like most of these are stuff you probably ended up watching towards like the more recent years, right? Like
Yeah.
some films are there that I've watched when I was smaller, but
Yeah.
like so it kind of goes into the whole.
Did you watch like Sri Lankan old Sri Lankan? Like, what did your parents watch, or did they watch films? Or?
Yeah, they watch films.
Yeah.
They watch films on TV, really, like when they went.
Did they watch the Lankan black and white 50s, 60s films?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I watch a lot of them.
Like, I think a weird sort of niche, probably not a niche thing for a lot of Lankan people, is like watching Bollywood movies at home. And a big thing of, because my parents didn't really watch it a lot, but my aunt used to live with me for a few years before she got married. She lived with us for a bit, and she used to watch a lot of Bollywood films at home. So I used to be small, and she'd like take care of me, and we used to just watch it together. So that was a big thing. Like looking back, that's
very funny because when I watch Bollywood films, it's with my auntie as well. So
yeah, it's
the
interesting.
auntie thing.
The auntie thing, and yeah, like watching films in the cinema was not that big of, like, it was a once in a blue moon thing for me, really. Like growing up, like you'd watch like something maybe once a year, maybe in the cinema. Most of it was through DVDs, and like we were talking about camera copies a lot. That's a huge thing there as well. Something you kind of grow out of. But
I remember my dad, because he's from Kandy, so like he used to just, I used to say he used to skip school and just go watch films and like the cinemas. You know, like 11 and 12. That's what he did. Again, it'll be like Bollywood films. So like Bollywood films and like the songs are like so famous in like India obviously, and Sri Lanka, even like all the way to Afghanistan and China. Like it's pretty big in China. It used to be, at least. Russia had a thing with India. Like they used to, like, it was crazy because all the way to Afghanistan, Indian films and Indian film stars are famous.
Right.
It was really cool. And I guess that's like a big. I mean, is it bigger than Hollywood in terms of like number of films coming out, number of fans, like Bollywood films? I don't know.
yeah,
I think it might be.
yeah. I mean, like you mentioned the art of imitation or something along those lines, right? Like a lot of songs, a lot of movies are potentially stuff that are remakes from different languages as well. And sometimes you don't even know that it's a remake unless you're like really like, you know, not like you've got a lot of knowledge on that subject, really. Sometimes it's like so obscure that people just randomly find out that it's actually like this like pretty cool song or something. Like there was this one story of like a journalist who visited a prison, and then there's this guy singing this probably like an Elvis Presley song that's really famous. And then he's like, "Oh, how do you know this Elvis Presley song?" And he's like, "No, that's not an Elvis Presley song. This is like this really popular Afghanistani song that, you know, that we've seen." And it's such a like a cool concept of like, you know, like,
isn't there a song named Jailhouse whatever, like one of Elvis's most famous songs?
Yeah.
Jailhouse Rock. So,
so kind of takes us back to like
interesting.
How you experience things in different countries and stuff.
Oh yeah, true. And like how there's different ways to experience films. TV. When I was in high school, I used to watch a lot of them on my phone.
Yeah.
Like which Jake is like literally throwing up right now. Because it was like bedtime. Like, okay, cool, I'll go to bed. But I'm literally actually just watching films before, like, you know, like before I go to sleep. So I would watch a film a night for like so long. Like 9 and 10.
Yeah.
I think we independently watch a lot of films. Like we didn't talk about films in school, but
not really.
we did watch a lot of films at that time.
And,
a lot of teenage films.
Yeah.
Like Perks of Being a Wallflower is like my favorite film from that era.
Yeah.
But again, like
my experience with DVDs and stuff, like home video and stuff, which Christopher Nolan has mentioned, by the way, as I'm sure you might know this as well, Jake, that he prefers home video over big screen stuff because, you know, the ability, the manipulations that is enforced upon him when he has to like stick to a certain time limits, a certain like ratio is too much for him, that he can go all out when it comes to like home video. So he's like always treasure the home videos that you get, and he's like, even with the latest one, like with Oppenheimer, he's like, it's gonna be like, he's gonna push the boundaries so that you can enjoy it more. So thanks for listening.
And then
like,
so this home video. When I used to watch a lot on my laptop.
Yeah.
Jake has a little home cinema in his room, which I get invited to sometimes. That's a cool little thing you have in your room. But then again, cinema as well. Like that's and IMAX is like the most cinematic cinema, I guess.
Cinematic cinema.
It's like it's like the biggest screen. Like, and I think Melbourne one is one of the biggest IMAXs. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest screens in.
I believe it was the second biggest in the world after Sydney's, and then Sydney's was like under construction, so then it became the biggest. But then Sydney's was opened again, and I think Sydney's is now the biggest again.
Is it open again? Okay.
Interesting.
But I think it is in like the top 5 biggest IMAX.
Okay, so we're gonna do that very soon.
Yeah.
But then because you lived in so many different countries like China, Germany, Thailand, for like not visiting, but you genuinely just lived there for like a good amount of time. How was the cinema experience there? Did you like, few questions there, like did you watch local cinema, or was it again like films you would watch here, like is it Hollywood films? And also like what was the culture there of like going to the cinema? Was it more like rent a DVD, or what's the culture there?
So yeah, I was just having a conversation with my mum the other day about when I lived in China, I never went to the cinema, because at the time, at least, all the sort of English language stuff, like international kind of films coming to China, were more like adult action kind of movies, and I was like a young child then, so we were just watching everything home video at home. So like it was like VHS tapes, DVDs, and then we had like a lot of the like pirated sort of Chinese bootleg DVDs as well. And I remember, as a young kid, I never really cared whether it was like a brand new DVD or rental or something filmed in the cinema. Like if I enjoyed the film, I enjoyed the film. Like whenever I'd visit New Zealand, that's when I like first started going to the cinema. And then mainly living in Germany and Thailand as well, like similarly just would go to like mainly just English language films. And I know in Thailand, in living in Bangkok, it's very easy, like almost in Bangkok most of the cinemas would play like the English language films would be in English with like the Thai subtitles at the bottom.
Okay, is there censorship there?
In Thailand, yes, there definitely is. I know, I think particularly I don't think too much with violence. I think it's more of like the American kind of style where like the violence is fine, but with certain sort of sexual nudity kind of things, there would sometimes be censorship.
And I feel like
in
Germany would be a contrast to that way. There wouldn't be any.
I think in Germany was very much like they didn't care about nudity, so you'd often get like films for like all ages or for kids to watch, and there'd be nudity in it, but they didn't, as long as it like if it's not sexual, it's like they wouldn't mind. But then violence they would take more seriously, I think. But
that's interesting.
Do you guys watch VHS tapes?
I watched Mr. Bean on that. I remember that.
Because another big part of so this is another auntie story where like my aunt used to send films to me like on my birthday. She lives here, right? She lived here. She's been here for a while now, and
in Australia.
Yeah, and she used to send me a film every day on my birthday. So every year, and then like my birthday's every day.
Every day.
And like it'll be like an airmail package, and it's like one of those like really cool looking DVDs. And that's probably how I got into like watching all these Pixar things. Like Finding Nemo is like one of my earliest memories. Fox and the Hound, and she used to send to my cousin at her other sibling's son. Like they used to have a VHS, and she used to send VHS versions of the same thing, and I used to be so jealous because why don't I get the VHS thing? Because like they look cooler, right?
Right.
At the time, even though I didn't know like the DVDs are obviously much better format, it would potentially last longer as well, right?
Well, I feel like if you got the VHS, you'll be wanting the DVD. Like it's just a child thing.
Exactly.
You just want the other thing.
And I mean that's a big memory as well. Like watching a film every year, looking forward to it as well.
I remember getting the first computer in the house and renting actually the Jurassic Park and me watching it. That's probably the first English film I watched. And then I remember in daycare, my dad one day was coming to pick me up to go watch Hulk in the cinemas, like the 2003 one, and that was like the most exciting. I was telling everyone in the daycare, like, my dad's gonna come pick me up. It was late. I think it was like, fuck, where is he? Like, I don't know. And then he came and I was like, yes, I got to leave. I'm like, live in the middle of like daycare and like, like it's always like fun. Like, oh, you look at me, I get to leave early. Like, I'm better than all of you.
Like, even like same thing, right? It's like there's this like childhood sort of anticipation and excitement towards watching a movie now. Still,
yeah. I mean,
you look forward to it. Like even Napoleon, I was looking forward. Even regardless of how bad it is or how good it is, really, like I was looking forward to it.
It's exciting, and this is old school. Like, it's like friends going to watch a film. It's just kind of like, I don't do that often enough. But speaking of which, it's in 2 minutes, so we should probably go.
We should head.
But what we'll do is we'll pause the recording now. We'll go in, come out, and then give a post movie review, and then maybe continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, we're back. Finished the movie. It wasn't 3.5 hours. It was actually 2.5. Definitely felt like at least 3 hours to me, though. But first impressions, Jay?
I really enjoyed it. I think I'd heard from some people who had really enjoyed it that it was very funny, and I agree. I think it was very funny.
Yeah.
I think the film kind of makes fun of Napoleon as a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
And I think that was, hilarious.
Yeah.
But then there's still like really engaging like war, and you really feel like the casualties and the consequences of war as well. Really great film. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool. First impressions rating out of 10?
I'd probably give it an 8.
8? That's pretty good for you.
Yeah.
That's rare. I haven't heard you give it 8 in a while, actually.
I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Hilla?
Yeah, very funny movie. Had a good time laughing at Napoleon.
It's definitely more fun with people.
Yeah. Like, I thought that was like it was like the perfect person to do it as well, like that, like acting wise.
Yeah.
Joaquin. So really enjoyed the cameo by Rupert Everett as like the Duke of Wellington. That was like something I didn't expect until the last bit. Vanessa Kirby was great, excellent. Had a good time, really.
Nice.
And it's probably like an epic in all sense of the word.
Yeah, fair.
As you'd expect from Ridley Scott, so it's good. Really enjoyed it.
Nice. Cool. Awesome.
What were you?
I liked it. It was fun to watch with people. I have watched a lot of fucking historical dramas and epics. So this isn't in the top 5 for me. But it was genuinely enjoyable, like really good. I know some things about Napoleon from like a war aspect, which is kind of really cool to see on screen. Like for any listeners, if you're interested, there's actually a diary written by a soldier in Napoleon's troops who went to Russia in the invasion of Russia. So we saw what happened, but it's way more crazy. Like the march to Russia, like to St. Petersburg, is like the most harrowing thing I've heard. Like one of the most harrowing accounts I've heard. And there's a Jocko podcast episode where he reads out the diary, and that's a kind of a cool one because Jocko Willink and his podcast, he's a Navy SEAL, so he has an idea on military strategy anyway. It's cool. It's just such a different way of fighting, like without modern technology, to be able to, I don't know, just so old school of just marching. You know you're gonna die. Front row of the infantry is definitely gonna die, and like it's so interesting. I mean, that was a shock for me when I watched like Barry Lyndon, And I was like, wait, like people will just die. Like this is crazy. It's a war of attrition. The war aspect was really interesting to me. Acting wise is really good. It was just funny to go with you boys as well. Like I was in the middle and both of you just whispering the exact same thing in my every 5 minutes. That was really fun. Yeah, good film. I recommend. But yeah, that was good. IMAX is good for me as well. Like the second time at IMAX, massive. It's huge. It's good for things like this, like period
Landscape.
drama, big epics. Yeah. Like I would love to watch Lord of the Rings remastered version on that. Would be sick. But
Well, they're re-showing Interstellar if you're interested.
that'd be cool. I just recently rewatched it, so can't be asked.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Anything else we want to talk about in terms of film?
Yeah. I mean, I hope this was like a good episode to reflect on the relationship we have with movies.
I think there's another question I just thought of that we actually didn't talk about. Why do we watch films? Like, what makes you like films? Yeah, it's probably like a hard question. That's like when people ask me why I run or something. Like, it's no solid answer. But do you want to attempt to answer like why you like films and why you watch films and why you think people should watch films if you think that?
I think it's entertainment. I think it's my sort of favorite art kind of medium. And I think you can escape reality and see a fictional hyper reality that is maybe better than reality or worse or just I think it's like a nice break from the real world to escape into this world of fiction.
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
it's a story, right? Like you at the end of the day, so you watch it for like Jake said, to escape into a different story. And like movies are probably like a more novel form of art, like compared to like a book or a painting or whatever. So it's the same kind of logic, but like in moving form, which is the idea of the name.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, it is like it's like a reproducible version of a play, really.
Yeah.
I think in a way. I mean, video is probably the most recent in all of those modes of art. But it's interesting though, like, because film is the only place where we can like look into people's lives. So like, or like we can gaze at their lives and not have the gaze come back our way.
Right.
Like,
that's a good
it's
way.
a like a it's from a psychological point of view. It's interesting because like we can't look at people for too long in real life without feeling a bit odd, or them feeling a bit odd, or them looking back at you and then us like there's a whole dynamic going on there.
Right.
That's fully gone, and it's
Laughing at like that scene in the movie where like Napoleon first meets Josephine.
oh yeah. Yeah,
think
were
of
you
that when you say
were you
that.
looking at me?
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at your face.
Such a funny character. But yeah, it is interesting.
I do agree with what you're saying there, Jimmy. I think it is like a form of hyper voyeurism
Yes.
in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
where you can have the satisfaction of staring without the consequences of it, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a totally different relationship you literally can't have with any other mode, I guess.
Right.
That's interesting. But I also feel like, there is life lessons, the same as reading a book and all of that. There you can reflect, and I mean, all three of us probably saw 3 different films today, really. And it's a reflection of your own state of mind and what you're looking for, depending on the film, obviously. But interesting answers. Anything else, Dylan, you wanted to ask from Jake?
Oh, I think we've got everything.
Cool.
We've gone probably a bit more than 40 minutes now, so
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's a good time to wrap up.
To wrap up. Awesome. Jake, anything else to add?
Stay well.
Stay well.
Stay well. Stay well.
Awesome. Alrighty. Cool. Wrap this up.
All right.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for
I
having me.
will see you back at my house.
Yeah.